All right, everyone. So this will be the fixed interval schedule of reinforcement. That's PD, by the way. So with the fixed interval schedule of reinforcement, a certain period of time needs to elapse before reinforcers delivered. But the important clarification that needs to be made is that that time needs to elapse, and then the next response that is emitted will produce the reinforcement. Now, if time elapses and a reinforcer is delivered, we would say non-contingent, meaning that no behavior needs to be emitted. That would be a fixed time schedule or a time-based schedule, right? Depending on how much time needed to elapse and if that changed across trials. So with a fixed interval, what has to happen is a set period of time needs to elapse, then the next response that is emitted will produce reinforcement, meaning that if I set it to 3 seconds, if the organism doesn't respond until 10 seconds, that's okay. Now, we might set up what's called a limited hold, which means that we also set the period of time that the organism must respond after that interval has elapsed. But for this, for our purposes here, we'll just set it as a fixed interval schedule. The next response will produce reinforcement. So let's figure out how we would do so. So within PowerPoint, what we want is that not every response is going to transition. Right now, I have this set up to, it says FI3 down here. I'm using one of our old templates. But in fact, if I go to my slide, I'll wait 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. I'm clicking all off of this. All that I have still set up is my FR1 schedule, so continuous reinforcement. So we have to make a little bit of a change. Now, eventually, I'll need a response that will then produce the reinforcer. So I'm going to actually just duplicate my response slide here. So I'm going to have my third slide be the one that actually then produces the reinforcement, but then I have to change my settings on my second slide here, because right now all I've set up is that 2 responses will produce the reinforcer. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up, so I'm right clicking on my little key here. I'm going to take the hyperlink and I'm going to edit it. So again, I could just press Command K, but I'm going to do edit hyperlink, and I'm going to actually remove the hyperlink. So this is again for my first response slide, because what I want to set this one to is that it will stay on for a set period of time regardless of what the participant does. So I'm going to go ahead, and all that I need to do here is go to my animations, transitions. Sorry. So it'll be on the transitions again. And this is what we set for our reinforcement slide. So I'm going to set after, so I want the slide to progress after a certain period of time, that time being my interval. So I want it for 3 seconds, right? So now what's happening is after 3 seconds, my slide will transition to this slide here, and clicking on the button then will produce the reinforcer. Okay, so let's just make sure that that works. I'm going to go ahead and 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Now I should be able to click and it'll produce the reinforcer. But let's make sure that that's actually working how I want, because what should happen is during that 3 seconds, clicking on the button shouldn't do anything. But once it changes, then it should. 1, 2, I'm clicking all over the place. There, I produced reinforcement. I hope you can hear how quick I'm clicking. I'm going to go back to that slide really quick. Oops, sorry, that's my reinforcer slide. I got to go back to slide 2. In fact, I'm going to go back to my title slide here. I'm going to click onto it, and it should start a timer for 3 seconds. So all that I'm clicking, I'm going to say click a bunch of times here as I click during the first 3 seconds. Ready? Click, 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 until the 3 seconds elapses, and then the next response produces reinforcement. Okay, so that's how I have it set up. We're going to cheat a little bit. This isn't the case, and I think students often get confused, but interval schedules, or with these basic schedules, they're typically not signaled. So unless we say otherwise, there's nothing that changes that tells the organism now when you click, it'll produce reinforcement. Again, that's sort of an experimental parameter. So let's actually pay attention here. Now what's going to happen is after that 3 seconds elapses, this key color will change. So let's make sure that it's actually at 3 seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and it should change. And all that that's saying is now that will produce reinforcement. So I actually don't want that to be the case, but we could use that to make life a little bit easier. But just so that we avoid confusion, I'm going to change that key color back. I just did Command Z, which is to undo, or I could click this little undo button up here. And then all I need to do is set up my additional trials. So again, I need 5 trials. So I'm just going to copy and paste here, and I'm going to change the text to say trial 2 and trial 2 and trial 2. Okay. Now do the same, paste down below. change this. This will be my third trial. So trial three, and finally trial three. I copy those same ones. This is easy because I'm on this FI schedule. Trial four. And then the last one will be trial five. Okay, let's make sure that this is all working. So I'm going to be clicking during these 3-second intervals, but let's make sure that we got all 5 of our trials set up right. And I can click on the button. Oops, nothing should happen. I accidentally clicked back. That's my apologies. Until 3 seconds, and then it produces the reinforcer. Again, 3 seconds starts right when the key shows up, produces reinforcement. Now I'm going to pause. I'm not clicking at all. I'm gonna wait. And I wasn't counting. I should have been counting, but it's been about 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds. That's gonna produce the reinforcer. It's pretty like I'm not responding optimally, right? I should respond if I want to get as much reinforcement as possible. I should be responding optimally here, so that right when the 3 seconds elapses, it produces the reinforcer like that. But the organism might not. Sometimes the pigeons will groom themselves or be pecking some other part of the apparatus. Okay, I hope that that makes sense. Now, all that will change with your variable interval schedules is, again, across those 5 trials, the average interval duration will be at some set amount, but the across trials, those will differ. Okay, I hope that that all makes sense.